12 years ago, Sri Lanka eradicated LTT terrorism on its soil. We have restored peace, security and stability for the benefit of our people. We held firm to our democratic traditions, and elections were held at regular intervals with high levels of voter participation, most recently at the 2019 presidential and 2020 parliamentary polls. The government is committed to holding the provincial council elections at the earliest. We are dealing with post-conflict recovery from the perspective of healing. Most recently, 16 LTT cadres convicted of serious terrorist crimes were granted presidential pardons. The success of post-conflict demining, reconstruction and resettlement programs has contributed immensely to national reconciliation. Despite the daily challenges of the devastating COVID-19 pandemic, the Office on Missing Persons, as its core function, is finalizing the list of missing persons in collaboration with other agencies. The Office for Reparations has processed 3,775 claims this year. The Office for National Unity and Reconciliation continues its 8-point action plan. The National Human Rights Commission is carrying on its mandate. A steering committee on SDG 16 is working towards enhancing peace, justice and strong institutions. A cabinet subcommittee was appointed to revisit the PTA and to bring it in line with international norms and best practices. A report will be submitted to the Cabinet of Ministers at the end of this month. An advisory board was appointed to look into cases of detention under the PTA and to make recommendations to deal with such cases expeditiously. Speedy disposal of cases under the PTA is also taking place. A commission of inquiry headed by a sitting judge of the Supreme Court was established to address issues on accountability and missing persons and to revisit recommendations by previous commissions. The COI submitted its interim report to the President. The final report will be submitted within the next 6 months. We are maintaining vigorous engagement with civil society to obtain their insights and to harness their support in achieving reconciliation and development. Sri Lanka continues to investigate and prosecute the perpetrators of the appalling terrorist attack on Easter Sunday in 2019, complying with due process of law in all respects. As always, we will remain vigilant in combating terrorism and protecting Sri Lankans of all religions. We reject the proposal for any external initiatives purportedly established by Resolution 46/1, while domestic processors are vigorously addressing the relevant matters. This will polarize our society as we experienced with Resolution 30/1. The Council must adhere to its founding principles. External initiatives embarked upon without the cooperation of the country concerned cannot achieve their stated goals and will be subject to politicization. The resources expended on this initiative are unwarranted, especially when they are urgently needed for humanitarian and other constructive purposes in many parts of the world. Under the current and pressing challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, we consider it a basic duty of a government to ensure the uninterrupted supply of commodities essential to the life of the community. We are open in acknowledging our challenges, and as a responsible and democratic government, we are committed to achieving tangible progress on the entire range of issues relating to accountability, reconciliation, human rights, peace, and sustainable development.
In the meantime, Great Britain accused Sri Lanka of regressing on the accountability front.
We note Sri Lanka's declared intent to promote reconciliation and to ensure the continuity of the work of the Office of Missing Persons and the Office for Reparations. We call on the government to ensure the political independence of these institutions. We are disappointed that even the limited progress made on accountability on key emblematic cases has regressed. We further reiterate our request made at the last session for independent and impartial investigations into deaths in police custody. The government of Sri Lanka's outreach to the international community and statements of intent regarding reforming the Prevention of Terrorism Act are welcome, though our long-standing concerns about this legislation still remain. We urge the government of Sri Lanka to bring its counter-terrorism legislation in line with its international human rights obligations. We call on Sri Lanka to cooperate fully with the High Commissioner and remain ready to support the government on the implementation of Resolution 46/1.
Meanwhile, Japan called on the international community to support Sri Lanka in its voluntary actions.
We understand that the government is taking various measures, including investigation by the Commission of Inquiry and payment of compensation. it is important that Sri Lanka continue to take voluntary actions and that the international community support Sri Lanka in this effort.
Meanwhile, Venezuela commended Sri Lanka's efforts towards progress on the front of democracy.
The Nicaraguan government has demonstrated its commitment to human rights, to its people, and has broken the anti-democratic violence which has been funded from outside. In Sri Lanka, we're delighted by the commitment of its government towards human rights, having undermined terrorism and restored peace and stability in the country, and dealt with success with issues around reconciliation subsequent to the conflict as well, so working towards democratic elections.
Pocket එකට ෆිට් වෙන new Axe Ticket perfume.